Hello, gentle viewers. This is Alf Guardian, welcoming you back to Out of the Park Baseball 25. Do not adjust your television set or computer or mobile phone. We are actually in the Charlotte Silver Wolves series. This is because um, on Wednesday passed away arguably one of the greatest players in Major League history. If you want to sit here and argue with me, he is the greatest player in Major League history, I'm on board with that. Um, Now, I'm not nearly old enough to have ever seen Willie Mays play. Um, I mean, he retired from baseball not quite 10 years before I was born. However, I still heard about him from my dad. And by reading about him and reading about some of those great Giants teams, I had this really cool book about all the Hall of Famers growing up. Um, but yeah, we will see him in the other series. Not for a few years yet, but we will. But I want to take a moment just to talk about how amazing he was as a baseball player. I think the number probably most associated with Willie Mays, and rightfully so, is 660. 660 home runs. In the history of Major League Baseball, there are, let's see, Bonds, Aaron, Ruth. I don't think Pujols passed him. I know Albert Pujols got to 600 homers, but I think he stopped there. If we look at home runs for a career, oh, Pujols did pass him, and so did A-Rod. Still, number 6 all time is nothing to sneeze at. Um, if you want to sit there and ask who is the most complete baseball player in Major League history in terms of defense, base running, and offense, it's probably Mays. If you want to sit there and argue Ken Griffey, I could see that. But let's put this in perspective, right? Ken Griffey Jr. had 184 stolen bases in his entire career. He never stole more than 24 in a season. Willie Mays had more than double that. And, by the way, led the league in stolen bases 4 times. Um, Willie Mays is, as you can see here, a 10-time Gold Glover. Nobody above him in the home run list even comes close. Even A-Rod only won 2. Did he deserve more Gold Gloves? Yes, but we're not talking about A-Rod right now. Purely from an offensive standpoint, Barry Bonds is the best offensive baseball player in history. This fucker's OPS plus is 188. He's 88% better than the average player, and by the way, one of the highest scoring eras in Major League Baseball history. Willie Mays was not far behind at 165. He's 65% better than the average Major League Baseball player. Over 3,000 hits, over 1,000 walks, 140 triples is completely nuts. His career WAR is 138.5. To put that into perspective, because you know I enjoy putting things in perspective, he's the 4th best player of all time, purely by WAR. And I'm gonna throw a little bit of shade toward Ty Cobb, and that Ty Cobb did not play with black players, and Ty Cobb played in the dead ball era, where high averages were not just common, they were expected. Babe Ruth was also a great pitcher, which I think if you want to say Ruth is better than Mays, maybe, but again, same argument. He never played against black competition. Ted Williams did, but Ted Williams was never the base runner and never the defender that Willie Mays was. Um, a phenomenal hitter. Look at this OPS plus 209. He was twice as good as the average Major League Baseball player. Twice as good. And like Willie Mays, he missed time for both World War II and the Korean War. Oh, okay, Mays wasn't World War II, just the Korean War, but still. But nobody combined everything a position player is meant to do in the way that Willie Mays did. If you want to sit there and argue about other players being really good too, I'm not going to fight you. But I think pound for pound, the best player to ever play Major League Baseball is Willie Mays. Um, that's just how I feel about it. Bonds is really, really good. And Barry Bonds, by the way, is also his godson, which is a fun little bit of fact of baseball history. I know people like, oh my god, use steroids, grumble, 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 worst human being in recorded history. What the fuck ever. You can't deny how great Barry Bonds was offensively. And he was better than Willie Mays relative to his competition, which is actually much higher offensively. But Willie Mays is also one of the best defenders in the major leagues. Barry Bonds won a couple Gold Gloves, but they were mostly in the corners. Um, Although his first couple Gold Gloves were in center field, so we can't discount that. But this is not accurate. Barry Bonds was not a center fielder for all of those Gold Gloves. I do not agree with that. Yeah, I think they didn't give him the correct position because Barry Bonds is mostly a corner outfielder. But yeah, I just want to take a moment and talk about Willie Mays before we dive into our actual series, just to give the man his props. Somebody's saying who's the greatest living baseball player, greatest living Hall of Famer now that Willie Mays is gone. Um, that's a good question because let's look at this list. How many of these other Hall of Famers are still alive? Most of them have died a long time ago. A Rod is not a Hall of Famer, so you can't include him. It really comes down to Rickey Henderson or Mike Schmidt, in my opinion. And or you could also argue Sandy Koufax. If you're a guy that cares about peak, I'm not gonna see Sandy Koufax for a second. Um, in the late 50s, mid for the 10-year career, Sandy Koufax is at his best. The only pitcher I would ever take over Sandy Koufax is Pedro Martinez, and it's close. And the fact that Sandy's left-handed makes him just a hair more deserving as a greatest living Hall of Famer. But I think the greatest living Hall of Famer has to be a position player. And because that's the case, the question is, do we take Rickey Henderson or Mike Schmidt? Because it really comes down to the two of them. Rickey did things that no one else will ever be able to do. No one is touching his all-time runs record. No one is touching his all-time stolen bases record. Um, I don't think either of those records will ever be topped. Um, it took a long ass time for someone to beat his walk record, which is Barry Bonds. Um, and it was close. Look at the huge gap between Babe Ruth and Rickey Henderson, or Ted Williams and Rickey Henderson. Mike Schmidt doesn't have quite those numbers, but Mike Schmidt was also one of the best offensive performers that happened to play a premium defensive position. If you value defense, I love Rickey Henderson, but he wasn't as good a defender as Mike Schmidt was at a much more challenging position. Third base is more difficult than a corner outfielder. What do you do the same thing for Henderson that they did for Bonds, where they say everything is in center field? Yeah, I say center field is not true. Um, yeah, they're both inner circle Hall of Famers, but I think we said who's the greatest living Hall of Famer. It's Schmidt in 1A, Henderson in 1B, and Pedro and Sandy Koufax tied for two. Um, of course, pitching wise, you have to consider Greg Maddux and Randy Johnson. Um, who are definitely up there. And if you value career length more than peak, I'd definitely go for probably Maddox. Although Randy Johnson was more dominant, I think Maddox was the better pitcher. Anyways, this is about Willie Mays and how fucking incredible he is and what he was able to accomplish. It is a travesty that he won 2 MVPs in his career. Somebody was arguing he should have won at least 9, and I believe it. But look at all the years he led the league in WAR. That's one, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, and a couple others where he was really close. Who led the league in WAR in 1954? That is wild. Can I look at it at that granular a level? I can if I look at the league history and if I look at the blah, 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 blah. Leagues? No, not leagues. Players? No. Teams? No, it's leagues. Let's do National League. I guess Major League Baseball, sure. National League in 1954. Who was the WAR leader that year? What? Did I click on the wrong year? I'm gonna click on the wrong year. I did click on the wrong year. I was so confused. Ooh, Duke Snyder was just a hair's breadth better that year. That's wild. Um, they were fucking tied in weighted runs created. That's ridiculous. I think modern audiences lose a little bit of how great Duke Snyder was too because he didn't have as long as productive career as Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays. Duke Snyder was still pretty good. Pretty damn good. Um anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little look back at Willie Mays. I thought it was appropriate to spend some time since we're talking about baseball history, talking about one of the best to ever do it. Maybe the best to ever do it. Um, I guess if Shohei Ohtani plays another 5 to 10 years and can, first of all, go back to hitting at the same level, but also pitching at a high level again, he's going to be a challenge. But I think Mike Trout's career of being one of the best players in the league is pretty much over at this point. He just keeps getting hurt. He could surprise us. But while Mike Trout is a definite Hall of Famer, I don't think there's any dispute of that. I think his career is, for all intents and purposes, over. I don't see him ever reaching the heights that he did when he was younger. Um, Although he was a phenomenal player too, truly phenomenal. I just don't see him having those great years that we kind of expected from his downshift. I'll be happy to be proven wrong. But yeah, Willie Mays, best to ever do it. And look, guys, Josh Groucho Trout will be draft eligible in 3 years. That's pretty amazing. What a name. Let's get back to our actual game, though. Hopefully you didn't mind the delay. If you happen to see Willie Mays play live, not counting like videos and whatnot, share your thoughts below by all means. As somebody whose only memory of Willie Mays is reading about the passage through the Cleveland Guardians, and well, that's who the catch was against in the '54 World Series, was against Cleveland. Um, yeah. When will we see Willie Mays? Probably 47. Maybe 48 because he was in the Negro Leagues in 47 and 48. That's my guess anyway. Okay. All right. We finished 26 games out of first place, playing seventh. We've got a lot of work to do. And we can't just run it back again. I think that was our biggest mistake last season was running it back. We really had there's no benefit to us running it back. Like this lineup is good. The pitching staff a little bit less so. But we have to get better somehow. And I'm not quite sure how we manage that. Eddie Just is terrible. His one saving grace is being a great second baseman. He is no longer a great second baseman. He is what we call shit. Hank Lieber, not a good enough right fielder. Not for a team that hopes to contend. Howie Schultz is one of the players of all time. Not good enough. We've got work to do. If we're going to be a competitive team, we have to make the right decisions. First off, let's take a look at our coaching staff. We need a bench coach. We need a coach of benches. I could promote Lapon. He's got a really good relationship with the Browns players. That's a possibility. Or we just get a really tremendous coach. What of our teaching roles do we lack in? We could really use an outfielder, an outfield coach. By the way, I don't know if you guys heard the ice cream truck coming up to my house, but it was very loud. And I apologize if you heard it. Eddie Quick is a pretty great choice. Mr. Quick, how would you get along with my players? Average. A lot of position players don't like you a whole lot. I think here's our guy. Bill Regan, welcome aboard. Okay. Next up on the plate, we need to do our practice facility stuff. Pat Siri, I beg of you, learn plate discipline. John Morrow, improve your secondary pitches. Howie Schultz, improve anything. That's not true. Jim Delsink really benefit from learning more positions. Let's get after it. Let's look at current players on the roster. That might need a bit of a leg up. Johnny Pescatore could certainly do even better. Let's have you pick up more plate discipline. I don't think you're ever going to hit enough power, but I do think we can improve your plate discipline quite substantially. Stan Spence would also like to improve your plate discipline. No, actually, Bernstein needs to learn a new position. I can't let him play shortstop again. He actually did bounce back as a third baseman, but I do want him to learn another position because I need to move to second at some point. So learn a new position, please. And then last but certainly not least, let's get Johnny Schmitz throwing some more strikes. There we go. Done. What do we have in free agency? Are there players of a high baseball caliber in free agency being available right now? Not so much. Annoying. Trading block. I could see upgrading the rotation with Schoolboy Rowe being a sensible idea. I only have a couple of top tier pitchers because of I don't know if it's overwork or what. A guy like Petro would actually really stabilize our rotation, make us a more competitive team. The question is going to be, what do I have to give up for him? I think Ralph Wyatt's going to get a chance to earn a spot in the major league rotation shoot. Let's actually check the freely available talent if there is any good talent left. All leagues, 50 potential. What do we got? It's early win. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, I think the hopes of getting a quick injection of talent are gone, possibly forever. Annoying. Melot. Hmm. Blorp. Okay. So there's nothing there. Good to know. Let's try to get Preacher Row. Let's try to upgrade our rotation that way. And see what it's going to cost me to make that happen. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I think it's a worthy addition if we can get it for without spending too much money. You're not getting any one of these four guys. They're all too important to the team. Who's a prospect I don't mind giving up? I need to keep Siri and Moro. I could give you Alex Kellner. Like, he's better him. He's not that much better than Bridges. I probably need to give Frank Kalen a shot over giving another shot to Howie Schultz. Yeah, I'm not ready to do this. Shit. Kalen definitely gets to make the roster. We're gonna have to get creative. Check the waiver wire. Big Jackson. He's not that big. Yeah, this is just going to be a really challenging deal. Finding the kinds of players that we desperately need in order to be competitive again. So Bilbergen's going to teach the outfield, and Blake can teach base running. Yeah, there you go. Julio. We just have to suffer. That may be our only hope, is just to suffer and wait until the good shit comes in. I'll go for Max Bishop again. I'll vote for Kiki Collier. I guess Lou Gehrig was pretty good, as is Charlie Gehringer. Carl Hubble too? Damn. Tony Lazzari or Lazari? I'm not sure which it's actually meant to be. I will toss one final vote to Herb Pennick, even though it's a waste of time because he'll never get elected. I will vote for Joe Sewell and Al Simmons. And Hack Wilson. Submit. Honestly, I think we're looking at three first ballot Hall of Famers in Hubble, Gehrig, and Gehringer. Beyond that, very possible, but I think those three are almost assured of Hall of Fame glory. Who are all these dipshits that were about to DFA? Yeah, for the most part, they're not that special. Yeah, I can cut him. But 105 players gone. Because I have exactly one minor league team now. Which is further only going to hurt us. Because other teams have way more than, like, we look at the Dodgers, they're sitting here with a full minor league system. I have one. That's going to be challenging. That's going to make it really, really rough. But we'll see what happens from there. I need a really good player, damn it. I need a really good player. Johnny Pesky got a Silver Slugger, so did Bucky Walters. Nice. I am picking fourth overall. If I may, I will tell you who I would have most liked to have on our roster. Probably Gil Hodges would be my first choice. If I cannot get Gil Hodges, I don't know who my pick would be. Buddy Rosar is a pretty damn fine catcher, but he's not so good that I would ignore an upgrade like Yogi Berra. Then Yogi Berra is also quite far away from the major leagues, so yeah. Gil Hodges is the only part that actually excites me, that I think would be a really great addition to our club in the near future. Um, Del Lennis is pretty decent, but he's not a very good fielder. Yogi Berra would be a fair choice too. I'm not putting him in center field; that would be ridiculous. But I could see putting him in the outfield. Weddy Lockman is pretty solid. Sherm Lawler is pretty good. Cliff Chambers is a really good pitcher, though. I could see him being a possibility. But yeah, this draft thins out at a shockingly fast rate. OSA thinks I will take Whitey Lockman. We'll see. All right. Boston takes Yogi Berra. Chicago takes Gil Hodges. Cleveland takes Del Lennis. Hmm. Whitey Lockman was a recently good player. And look who he played with. The New York Giants. Funny that. Um, Waller's not great at catcher framing. He's a good offensive catcher, though. So I guess it comes down to Chambers, Lawler, or Lockman. I don't really have obvious choices to take over in the outfield. I need young outfielders in a very, very bad way. And yes, I have Pat Siri. I understand that. And I'm sure he'll be a great one. But not for a while yet. Um, I like Cliff Chambers, though. He's borderline ready for the major leagues now. And we do need another top flight pitching prospect. Somebody who would think will develop quite quickly. Because the lineup wasn't the problem last year. The lineup was actually reasonably acceptable. It was the pitching staff that kind of shit the bed toward the end there. I also need an infielder. I'm not going to drop this low to draft Cass Michaels. That would be a shame. Do we take Cliff Chambers? I'm going to shortlist Cliff Chambers and I'm going to take Whitey Lockman. I think our need for outfield help is so great we have to override other considerations. And I will pay you your demand. I didn't think Cliff Chambers was going to make it back to me. That was never going to happen. George Strickland isn't terrible. I could see adding him in. Dick Cole to get a little bit more. He's a really smart guy. He's not a very good infielder. Eh. No. I am not taking a junk baller whose only real skill is not giving up home runs. That's not going to fly. Carl Scheib is a decent choice. Eugene Johnson has really good work ethic, which I think makes him slightly more useful, so we will draft him for 130 bucks. I'll take Bob Usher. I can hope that we develop him differently than he developed in real life. I will pay his demand, as ridiculous as it may seem. Boyd Bartley, I will draft him just for fun. And yeah, we're already into like the really unimpressive sorts. Let me sort by batting potential and look for contact uh, potential or power. But yeah, that all sucks at this point. Do your thing, coach, director of scouting. All right, friends, I'm gonna step away for a moment. I will be back momentarily. All right, so it wasn't a great draft. I think we did the best we could. I do wonder how much we'll regret passing on Chambers to get Lockman. If Lockman turns out he's an excellent player and one worthy of our pick, like most years, this is not a fourth overall pick. This isn't even a 10th. This isn't even a 15th overall pick most years. But we're in the middle of World War II. And so the talent available to us will just not be as good. The moment that Berra and Hodges were taken ahead of us, we were basically left for table scraps. With the fourth overall pick in a draft with three players. Um, Meh. I'd be very careful about who we sign, because everyone we sign is going to replace somebody else. Meh. Stockhausen? Meh. People have signed. Glorious. Any movement on the trade block? Catherine Red is a really good hitter. I'm not sure that I'm willing to add him to our team when most of his value just comes from hitting singles and drawing walks. Josh Gibson has not been a great player. It seems like nobody's willing to trust him, which is probably part of the issue. Give me batting ratings, please. Hal Trotsky is on the trading block? Interesting. I don't have a great first baseman. A guy like Trotsky might be quite valuable. What would it cost me to add him to my club? I'm not surprised. They're wanting quite a bit that I'm not really willing to part with. What do I start with Schultz and Kalen? I think I have to do it. I think this is the exact kind of deal I have to make in order to get better. So we're going to go ahead and make this trade. And instantly he'll become our starting first baseman. Where are you? Like, no, seriously, where did you go? There he is. I'd like to upgrade second base. What do we have in that front? Pretty much nothing of interest, which is kind of what I thought might happen. Skeeter Newsom isn't terrible. I could see things working with the Skeet, as he may be known, playing second base for us. He's certainly better than Used, and at least has the potential to hit enough to not embarrass himself. I think he's worth trying. So let us make a trade. And I can get him for basically nothing, because nothing is exactly what I'm prepared to provide you with. Would you take Used for him? You would. Done deal. I just think Newsom is a better player. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we're gonna have Stevens play third, Pesky play short. We could look for a new shortstop as well. That's a realistic idea as well. What do we have in outfielders, though? I feel like the asking price for Chaffee Red is just going to be too steep, even though I agree he would be a pretty fine addition to the club. He's also been a pretty terrible outfielder. Mike Kriovich, I've already had him. Otis Hockett is an interesting choice. He's a reasonably good defender with some offensive skills. He's at the very least worth adding to the club as another option. So I think we trade for him as well. You can have Bob Johnson for him. I no, Bob Johnson ended up having a pretty solid season toward the end there. So Johnson is not the problem. I give you Siri or Spence, but I might give you Lieber. And again, fancy ratings aren't everything. Equally important is getting the right player for the right job. So Johnson stays in left, Spence plays in center. Somebody wins the right field job out of this bunch. We've got a new first baseman in Trotsky. We've got a decent infield with Pesky and Stevens playing third and short, respectively. We've got some decent pitching. Maybe not elite, top tier, amazing pitching, but we've got some decent pitching. I think this is a decent start. I think it's absolutely a decent start. So Jim Delsing learned third base. Not a position I thought he would learn, but I will take it. Because I think he's actually a really good third baseman. Delsing low key has a chance to be a really important contributor. It's just going to take him a while to get there. Really? Vermin Stevens randomly picking up catching is funny, but not what I wanted, which was second base. Alright, whatever, man. Um. Stan Spence, keep working on play discipline, please. You both are frustrated, which is a little disappointing. And then Eugene Johnson should definitely be working on his stuff. Work on your control, please. There you go. Done. Is there a way I can see the people that are designated for assignment, but like in a better list? Evidently not. Yeah, we can get rid of these guys. Did you turn Vic Wertz back into a pitcher again? Stop letting him pitch. Game. Cease. Set position. Right field. Force him at right field, I guess. There we go. He's allowed to play no position other than right field, except for maybe left field. But yeah, stop making him a pitcher. He is never going to throw a baseball in anger for this franchise. Why would I take something that takes him from one of my best prospects to one of my worst? That's just silly talk. So thank you, but no thank you. If there are quality players, I should be able to snag them without too much hassle in the Rule 5 here. Alright. Jack Salvesen, like, his overall 48 sounds wow, impressive. He's terrible. His only skill is not walking people. That's not good enough in the major leagues. So I will politely decline your ridiculous proposal. George Stoller, on the other hand, I could get behind potentially. I'm willing to give him an opportunity to try to make it out of my outfield here. Barney Brown I like better than Sabson. He still doesn't have any great pitches, but he's at least a little bit better. Clyde Klutz is actually a really good backup catcher. Like, he's not a starting catcher, but he's a really good backup, so I'm willing to take him on as well. Draft player. You're such a deeply weird pitcher. And none of your pitches are terribly effective. I don't think it's worth it. I do not believe it is worth it. Um, Frenchie here is a decent outfielder, but he doesn't have much else to offer. I really need infielders. Huck Geary is not a shortstop under any discernible definition. If I look at batting ratings and sort by defense, what are we looking at here? Charlie Arnold's a really good defender. But you can't even hit your way out of a damp paper bag. I mean, you're a 93rd round pick in 1938. Like, I respect the hustle, but you will not be on my franchise, unfortunately. Don Gutteridge is not a second baseman either. Can I just search your second base? Does that help? And then let's slap on the fielding filter. That should help us out a fair bit. Luis Sapala only has one offensive skill. I don't think he makes a good fit. George Stein is not a second baseman. He's a first baseman who doesn't embarrass himself at second. That's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, the issue is just going to consistently be the fact that finding an okay hitter that also plays second base is just difficult. Joseph Cannon. I keep going back to George Stein. He might be one of the best choices. No, he's a terrible second baseman. It's a position where defense is really important. No, you go away now. Is at least 60. Let's narrow it down significantly. There we go. Philip Corrigan is a really good defender. I don't know that his offense will ever carry up to that, but I think he's such a good defender that he is worth taking. What else could we use on our club? Who is William Robbie? I don't know who this is. Oh, you must be somebody that's on the outs now because I acquired a player. Oh, very possible. Very possible. Are there any good pitchers left? Are there any pitchers left, period? I don't think so. No. Pitching ratings. Pitchers. I'm willing to give Tex Carlton a shot, potentially. I think that's good. We've added 4 players to the Major League roster through the Rule 5 draft. I think that's pretty useful. I could have had a high buy Thorn. Damn. That's fine. We're going to have Ralph Wyatt in the major leagues. We're going to give Lockman and Wirtz a chance to prove. And Siri are all going to get a chance to develop at the major league level in spring training. Um, Sorry, William. Gehrig, Geringer, and Hubble all made it in. Haha, Freddie Lindstrom. You actually got into the Hall of Fame in real life because you're part of the New York Giants that John McGraw was involved in. A lot of people got in that didn't deserve it from that particular franchise. Not that I'm not attacking people. Like literally everybody did it. Every single Hall of Fame committee ever got people in that didn't deserve to be in. For the most part, like I don't even think Gil Hodges deserves to be in the Hall of Fame personally, unless you're going to add in the fact he was a good manager too. Which, if that's the case, fine. But I don't think purely on a playing note that he is that great a Hall of Famer. Then again, we also have Harold Baines, and he's nobody's idea of a Hall of Famer, I don't think. Um, and yet he made it in. Jack Morris is another example of a player who's just not that great that made the Hall of Fame anyway. So I can't sit there and throw stones when we've made our own mistakes. Look at Nels Potter getting better. Nice. And Bucky Walters getting worse. Less nice. Far less nice. Vern Olsen is getting worse. Losing velocity at the age of 24 is really bad. That is not what the kids call a good thing. Chuck Workman is trying to put the workmen in, to try to be in a position to make the club. I think the fact the AL is relatively weak does give us a slight advantage. There's at least a chance we can come back and make it happen. Nice. Nice. All right. Lockman, Wyatt, and Wirtz are all going to make it. And Siri. And probably Morrow deserves an opportunity at least. As does Mead. Basically, anybody that's got a 30 or higher has at least a chance of making this club. I'm going to let my bench coach set things up the way he'd like. You do not have to play Vic Wirtz in right field. I will remove that requirement, but I do not want you pitching him. That is my number one criteria here. Because I'd rather play Gene Moore. Why? What is it about Gene Moore that just fascinates the shit out of this team? I have lots of outfields I would like to give a chance to. Gene Moore is not one of them. I really don't want Vern Stevens playing shortstop again. That's going to stop, but I don't mind him playing shortstop, at least here in the early going. I need to trade Gene Moore, because the game's just... The AI is just going to keep saying, no, he's a great player. He's not. He's a mediocre outfielder with mediocre skills that had one good season in his entire career, which was not with us. So Gene Moore, thank you for playing. I'm going to turn you into a prospect. You know what? Stan Rohack, I could get behind that. Ooh. No, Henry Merchant's actually a terrible hitter. Mr. Rohack, welcome to the St. Louis Browns. Done. Now, don't ever start anyone that shitty at right field again. You want to try Whitey Lockman? Fine. That I'm okay with. I'm also going to put Stevens at third and Newsom at short. Do I want Pesky at short? No, I definitely want Newsom at short. You want Fred Hatfield. I mean, I also want Fred Hatfield. You're offering me a mediocre reliever and a second mediocre reliever who's younger. I would trade for Norris Phillips only, but I would not trade for Jumbo Brown, and I'm certainly not going to give you Fred Hatfield for it. Yeah, I don't think so, but thanks for asking. Charlie Meade has had a very productive spring training, as has Dizzy Trout, which is fantastic news. Um, Lockman, not so much. Okay. I like how Fred Hatfield could have been traded and he decided, I'm not going to play second base anymore. Fuck you. Like, alright, man. Whatever makes you happy, bro. We might be a really bad team this year. I don't want to alarm you, but it seems highly probable. All right. I have 16 pitchers. That is too many pitchers. Far too many pitchers. Morrow goes to the minors. That's step one. Wyatt stays. Saxon to the minors. Manning to the minors. Benton to the minors? I wonder if Benton would take a demotion. He may not. No, he won't. I'll try to trade Satch. I doubt anybody's going to give me anything for him. I could get Harold Blackstock, who's at least a decent defensive infielder. You know what? I will take it. I'm sorry, guys. I know he's a really popular player, but I can't kowtow to the fans when the team needs to be better. We need to baseball at a better rate, and that means occasionally getting rid of the chaff. I could send one more player productively to the minor leagues, but I don't know who that would be, other than potentially releasing Tex Carlton or releasing Al Benton. What could I get for Al Benton? Since he apparently isn't content to be sent to the minor leagues. I'm getting some decent offers here. Red Embry is actually a pretty solid choice. It's going to be a while before he's a great pitcher, but I'm willing to give him that opportunity. So Red, come on down. Really? Man, the fans are just being gutted by me trading these mediocre dudes. Like, come on, fuckers. I'm trying to make us a better team. Cut me some slack. Johnford Q. Peacock. Your days as my backup catcher are gone. Clarence Israel. Get out of here. Lachlan, Wirtz, and Siri? No, and Bennett all get to go to the minors. And I think Siri joins them. But I think Charlie Meade has at least earned consideration. I think he's shown us what he's capable of, and he's not the worst. All right, let me reset my pitching staff to my liking. I'm not going to do it based on who the best hitter is. Pitching ratings, please. Tommy Bridges is by far our ace. There's not really a debate there. But then I think it's Dizzy Trout, Bucky Walters, and Ralph Wyatt, followed in the fifth spot by Hank Wise. This means Clad Passo is left on the outside looking in. I'm fine with that. Or am I? I'm gonna start Claude instead and over Wise. Or am I? Passo becomes my emergency starter long reliever. I see no reason Johnny Schmidt isn't still my closer. I know he didn't have an amazing season his first year, but I still think he's the best choice. We will make him a stop or. Oh, Vert Olsen is in the pen. I think that's actually a reasonable place to use him right now. And we'll do middle relief for everybody else. Okay. Lineups. I don't trust this game to do them at all. We'll do it my way. Okay. Our best on base hitter by far is Johnny Pesky. He's our purest on base contact hitter, and so he gets pride of place as our leadoff guy at second base. That I agree with. Or we could play him at third, either way. Um, I have three power hitters. I have Stevens, Trotsky, and Spence. And Spence is the best hitter of the three of them. So I'm going to go ahead and make Stan Spence our number three. I don't like playing him at center, but I don't have a reason not to play him at center because I don't have anybody genuinely better. Oh, you were god awful in center field last year, weren't you? I'm going to put you in right field instead. Vern Stevens is going to shift to third base. And he is going to be our cleanup hitter. And then Hal Trotsky is going to play first base and hit fifth. Like, here's the thing. Like, his stats tell me he should never be in center field. Except in very limited circumstances. He was terrible last year. Um, so I think playing him in a better position will make us a better team. I truly believe that. Stevens and Trotsky. Who hit second? It could be Bob Johnson, actually. Bob Johnson hitting second does make some level of sense, so let's make that happen. Bob. Alright, we got to put in a shortstop, a catcher, and a center fielder. Do I have a good defensive center fielder somewhere in the system? I don't believe that I do. Is there an elite center fielder on offer? Bob Patrick is the same as Stoller, except Stoller has more offensive upside, so that doesn't work. Player trading block. Suntor Field. Yeah, none of you guys are very good. Okay. So I guess that means we're going to experiment with Stoller playing center field. But he's not going to be hitting fifth. That would be silly. I think Buddy Rosar hit sixth. That seems reasonable to me. If all I care about is defense, Philip Corrigan is my shortstop. If that's all that I care about, he's my shortstop. But Skeeter Newsom has enough potential to be an upside with the bat that I'm willing to give him his chance at shortstop. And then George Stoller is going to be our center fielder. This could be a fucking dumpster fire type situation, but maybe not. Also, question mark. Yeah, I think we've built the best team we could have, but I have deep, deep concerns about our defense in the outfield. Like Spence is great. I think getting Spence out of center field will make him a better player. But I could we could use a better center fielder, maybe something better target as the season progresses. For certain. Um I'm hoping that Stan Spence going back to the corners after the disastrous year in center field is gonna unlock something in him. I truly hope that that is the case. Nice. Do we have anybody in the top 25 prospects? I do not. If we check our prospect pipeline, who is the best? Siri at 37. I have a lot of mid tier prospects that are in the top 100, but they're all relatively far from the major leagues, other than like Charlie Meade, who is in the major leagues right now, or Harold Blackstock. All right, let us now play baseball. Walters gets worse. Wise got a tiny bit worse. Klinger got better. Schmidt's got a little worse. Stevens got better. Berdino is about the same. Spence is better. Johnson is getting better. Delsing is getting better. Delsing has a chance to be a really important player on this team if he can develop his ability to hit. That's what it's going to come down to. Vern Stevens got player of the week. Nice. I think the fact that there are no dominant teams in the AL is going to help us potentially sneak in there, but I certainly don't have too many expectations of making it. Poor Bradford Bennett went from having a chance to genuinely make the team in spring training to being off the club entirely, and I don't have a problem with that because he sucks. He is the worst. Not the worst, but he is not good, certainly. Hmm. Tex Carlton will retire. Okay. Fucking Cliff Chambers. He's already declined, though, so I feel a little bit better about it. Player development. Not too much is changing. People are getting slightly better, slightly worse. Alex Kellner throwing harder is only going to help him become more successful. Cliff Mapes. Whitey Lockman just improved his defense. I don't know that that's necessarily what I'm looking for, but okay. Did I just see no hitter by Tommy Bridges? I did see that. Well done, Tommy. Well done. Um, we are not pitching well. Two of my starters have been actively bad. Three of them have, in point of fact. Yeah, Bucky here is walking people at a pretty prodigious pace. I think he'll improve that with time, but it is a concern. Ralph White has actually been fairly productive. He doesn't look like it because this strike a lot of people out, but he has been okay so far. I am going to go ahead and let Passo, though, take back over in the rotation and let Wyatt stretch out his arm in the bullpen. Offensively, we're getting some decent performances from certain people, and others have been far more disappointing. Hal Trotsky is not having a great season. He might do better with time, like maybe just needs a little bit of help, but he is not having a tremendous season. Bob Johnson has been amazing. Stan Spence doesn't look it at first glance. He's also having a very fine season. It could be better. I hope that it is better. But he's having a pretty good season. Stan Spence is not our problem. Vern Stevens is sort of our problem. His power seems to have dropped a little bit. And he's not a great third baseman, but other than that, he's not bad. Skeeter Newsom is exceeding expectations. He's hitting quite well, and he's playing shortstop with some skill. So that's a positive, for sure. How bad is Stoller in center? He's actually a positive. So while I think we could do better at certain positions, I also don't think we're as bad as it looks. A little more batted ball luck for Hal Trotsky, and I think we're right in the thick of things offensively. I am reasonably pleased, and I'm going to continue for another month. I mean, that is a huge pain, both figuratively and literally. Did I get a scouting report on Workman? I did not. Not in May. I mean, he got better at defense. Who fucking who? I'm gonna try to trade for a right fielder rather than force one of these kids to play before they're ready. What do we got in the outfield, fam? Bobby Estalella is eternally available and yet has never been acquired by me. I like Pancho Coimbre. I think he's decent, but he's not a very good outfielder. Estalella is at least decent. I think we go for Estalella. What is it going to cost me, Cleveland? What do I have to cough up to add Estalella to my team? Not very much, apparently. What if I give you a mid-tier prospect? What if I offered you Charlie Meade? No, Charlie Meade doesn't do it for you. Charlie Meade actually makes it worse. What if I just handed you $25,000? What if I offered you $50,000? Really? If you want Berardino, a guy who can't actually play the field that well, I will give you Berardino. But I'm not giving you any money if I do that then. Because I don't have that much money to give you. But I will give you Berardino if that's what you want. That I have no problem with. Yeah, let's make it happen. I'm sorry, guys. I needed to replace my guy. So Bobby Astalea takes over hitting third and playing right field for now. And then I need a new infielder. But it's not going to be Jim Delsing yet. What about Stan Royak? I think he's a better choice. Let's call him up. Welcome to the bigs, my dude. And then let's immediately regenerate our depth charts here. Going to play Hockett every 20 games. Be my guest. Be my flippin' guest. It seems like every season Astalea has always been on offer. We've just never tried to acquire him until this year. Player development. A little bit of gap power lost by Vern Stevens. Tiny Bridges is getting better, which is wild at his age. Bob Johnson is starting to slip a little bit. Chuck Workman is getting a tiny bit better. Morrow's about the same. Embry's about the same, slightly worse. Hatfield's getting better. Delsing is getting better. Sirius getting better, but he's not turning into actual practical skills, which I think is what's gonna hold him back. Besides defense, which is still important, but it's not your glove I'm worried about, Delsing. It's your bat. I need your bat to be less bad. Trotsky is still not hitting consistently. Isn't our park one that eats left fielders alive? No, it's slightly worse for left-handed bats. You should be clubbering pitches, my dude. Estelea hasn't been great either, but Bob Johnson has been really solid, as has Johnny Pesky. Buddy Rosar's good. Stoller is fine. I did promise we wouldn't run it back with the same team. I just don't know that we're running it back with a better team, but nonetheless, shall persevere. And I bet getting Stan Spence back is going to be such a huge deal that it's going to make everybody else play better. I'll see you later, Chuck. I don't want to. I'm not. I'm just trying to demote you. There. Put in the Spencinator, please. That's what he likes to be called, the Spencinator. Generate depth charts. Yeah. Asteli's probably gonna start getting grouchy because he's like, I should be starting every day. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what you can start. Fucking Al Javery, that's not even a real person, is it? Oh, damn, he actually did pitch for a while, was actually fairly good at it. Who knew? Tommy Bridges and Johnny Pesky are your only two St. Louis. Oh, and Johnny Schmitz. All three of them made it as to the All Star team, which is better than I expected. Because there ain't no way in hell that Bob Johnson's gonna take an outfield spot away from any of these guys. That's just not gonna happen. Stan Spence would have had a chance had he stayed healthy. I think Stan Spence would definitely have had at least an argument potentially. I'm surprised Brent Stevens didn't get some attention for an All Star spot. However, I'm not going to agree with Roy Cullenbine is having a fantastic season. I'm just glad we got one position player, and that it was Johnny Pesky. That's pretty exciting. Oh, dip. Buddy Rosar made it too. I didn't even notice that. 4 All-Stars for a team that is 13 games out of first place. It makes you think. Maybe we're not so bad as we appear. We're still not good. Like, I have no illusions about us being able to come back from this. I almost think I will keep my scouting director because he's actually done a very fine job. I like my scouting director. He is a good person. You can have an extension. Do I have anybody in the top 20? I sure don't. I'd sure like to have a better prospect base too. Oof, trading shutouts back to back to back. Nice. Dizzy Trout. Dizzy Trout has lost 14 fucking games. That's wild. How have you lost 14 games? What fresh hell is this? You're just not getting any run support? Where is run support? I don't see run support. Game did you eat run support? I bet you did. Oh no, it is there. It's RSG. Yeah, we scored like 3 runs to start for him. That's not good enough. I mean, you could just say that our lineup isn't good enough, and I would agree with you. Um, this is also just not a great year for offense, it would seem, because despite that, I think Bucky Walters is cooked. I wonder if we can flip him to somebody. Like, I know it'll make the fans sad, but he's not very good. And if we could flip him for something decent, like trick somebody into giving us something for him, I think it's worth doing. Are there good players on offer for one Bucky Walters? Is the question. Depending on your value of good, Hank Sauer is not what I would call good. Especially because he's not terrible. I feel like the fans would really hate me for doing this, but I. Oh, Hank Sauer, yeah, he's 26. He's not a bad player. Yeah, I'm gonna make the trade. Um, are there interesting pitchers on offer? I'm not even looking for great pitchers. I'm looking for okay pitchers to just get me through the fucking season. I could see maybe taking Mel Harder. You want a second baseman who can't play second base? Hatfield is a little bit too good to give up for relatively little. Yeah, I'm not willing to give up a decent minor leaguer. I'll just take a worse pitcher. Wiley Wilshire. Really? You're wanting genuinely decent players for him. No, thank you. Um, I will call up John Morrow to be a reliever. But the question is who gets the starting spot? I think it's Vern Olson. I think Vern Olson gets another chance because he's not far removed from being a pretty decent starting pitcher. And you can be a middle reliever. Done. I don't think anybody else is going to have a decent trade option. Because I'd have to give something up, and I'm not willing to give anything up of any value in order to get a mediocre player. I have plenty of mediocre players right now. And Bucky Walters is just done. He's just done at this point. He has nothing left in the tank. He just started walking hitters again. And yeah. Have I made very many good moves of late? I feel like maybe I haven't. I mean, Bob Johnson has been a pretty big win for me. He's been a pretty solid player. I just keep feeling pain every time I see this trade. 70 wins were lost by giving up on Cecil Travis when I did. Wow. Sigh. I find it interesting that for some reason Carl Hubble is listed as one of my best trades. If I expand to top 15, Carl Hubble still isn't there. Like, we got a fucking Hall of Famer in trade. For Heine Manouche, that feels like a pretty damn great trade. I don't know why it doesn't rank as one of my top ones, but whatever. Whatever. I have made some good trades, just not as many as you'd think. I think it's kind of damning that my one of my best trades already is actually one that I made with the Browns, despite all my years. Then again, I built my Braves teams through selective free agent acquisitions more than I did through trades. Um, this never gets easier to look at. Trading Joe Cronin was not a great idea. I gave up Vito Tamulis in that exact same fucking trade. Oh my god. I like that I traded Bob Johnson, but then traded for Bob Johnson. I wonder if that kind of works out. Henry McHenry ended up having an okay career? Huh. Yeah, it's 20 wins. That's not nothing. Cecil Travis will haunt me till the end of my baseball days. And every time I've ever played one of these historical sims, Cecil Travis always has an amazing career. And I almost always have my hands on him briefly and then let him go. That was silly. That was a foolish, foolish thing. Vic Wertz playing center field better was unexpected, but welcome if he can learn how to hit too. My goal is to be reasonably competent. Oh, I never added Hank Sauer to the roster. That was a mistake. Can Hanky play center? He cannot. He is not capable of center field play. Okay, Chuck Workman. No, Otis Hockett I think is the one to go. I mean, I bet somebody will probably claim him on waivers, but I wanted Hank Sauer on this club as another piece to the puzzle of being relatively less terrible. I don't even know what I want at this point. Like, I don't even know what would make us a better team other than just playing better. You didn't come to the Browns. I traded for you. You didn't have a choice. Otis Hockett has in fact cleared waivers. Nice. We do lack top flight pitching. That is something the team doesn't have. An ace, I think, would really help us quite a bit. I mean, Claude Passo randomly adding velocity at the age of 34 is pretty wild, too. Bob Johnson is getting better somehow. Stan Spence is getting a tiny bit worse. Delsing is getting better. I mean, Lockman improving his defense is wonderful, but that's not what's going to get him his job in the major leagues. His ability to hit baseballs. So how about you work on that, Chief? And we're just going to go at the end of the playoffs because I feel pretty confident that I'm not going to be. I think I'm going to win like 17 games in a row and win the pennant. That'd be pretty funny if I did, but I don't think it's going to happen. Damn, end of a dynasty for the Braves. They're getting boat raced by the Giants. Man, Roy Columbine. My one thing this year was Johnny Pesky winning a batting title. You can't even let me keep that. What a jerk. Vernolson throwing harder is another welcome development. Bob Usher, better at playing right field. Nice. '73 and '81. Not a great season. Not a bad season. Not a great season. Definitely some room for improvement. The Giants and the Tigers. No World Series for Ted Williams, sadly. For Thed Williams. I don't know why I just called him Thed. I'll probably never do it again. Probably. Although Roy Columbine is also a key piece of their success. As is Jerry Pretty. I feel like Tommy Bridges actually had a pretty good season. So I guess we have an ace. I don't know what we need to do differently other than just keep looking for upgrades where we can find them, wherever we can find them, however we could find them, and seeing what that turns into. This is not a great year offensively for the major leagues as a whole, so hopefully I have a little bit of grace. from my buddy. Goodbye, Tax. We'll miss you. What did go right this season? I'm gonna quickly save my game. Last couple times I've tried to quit out of this, it just crashes rather than saving. It only ever happens in this save, not the Silver Wolf save. Did anything go well this season? Are there players that we can be proud of? I mean, Johnny Pesky had another pretty great season. Not as good as last year, but really close. And he's actually a pretty good second baseman. So I think remains an excellent player and has been a quality addition to the franchise. Definitely a worthy 8th overall pick. Vern Stevens just keeps putting up the numbers that we need to see. Uh, and he's not a great third baseman, but again, I think he's good enough. And he had a pretty good year, so I am pretty happy with that. Stan Spence had one problem this year. He got hurt. He has drastically improved just by getting him out of center field. Telling Stan Spence he will only play in the outfield for the rest of your career, and the corner outfield for the rest of your career, I think has had a huge impact and should keep us being a great team going forward. Buddy Rosar had a great season. It's nice to have a catcher that provides a ton of offense while also being a pretty good catcher. Bob frickin' Johnson, he just continues to be an excellent player. Despite his advancing age, there's very few players on this. He's declining in the outfield again. A problem. Uh, if you had Skeeter Neeson being a really good defender, I think that show. I mean, he still made a lot of errors. Um, we had some decent performances off the bench, and then we had Hal Trosky. To say he had a bad year is a gigantic understatement. A gigantic understatement. He should not be hitting 213 for any reason. But more than that, he didn't hit for power. He didn't draw very many walks. I mean, I guess he did draw more walks than he struck out, but he was not a very good player. Of all the players on this team, he needs to turn it around next year, especially because he's also a terrible first baseman. George Stoller, also not great. Okay defensively. Not very good offensively. For a guy whose power is his only calling card, 2 home runs is not enough. So there's definite holes on this roster that need to be corrected at some stage. Pitching, Tommy Bridges has an off chance at winning the Cy Young someday. He's just that bloody good. Dizzy Trout had a great year. Claude Passot was great. Wise was excellent. All of our pitchers were good to great. And that's really great to see. But we could use one more really great young arm. I think that would help quite a bit. We could use a lot more offense. I'm saying this is a team that scored the 6 most runs in the AL. We need more offense. Trosky cannot be this bad next year. Because he is where everything died. That and Stan Spence being hurt, missing him for those 30 plus games was problematic. So, we gotta do better, guys. Game, I will fucking throw punch you if you don't quit trying to make him into a damn pitcher. He is never going to pitch. Stop it. Bachman cannot play center field. Nor can Siri. Long road to hoe. Long road to hoe. Before I think we'll be anywhere near good stuff happening to us. We're going to be picking 9th overall. Are there really good players in this draft? There are some. The problem is the very, very best are not going to be anywhere near me. Wouldn't Duke Snyder look great, though, in a St. Louis Browns uniform? But we're not going to get him, or Eddie Yost. Which is a shame, but we will endure somehow. Isn't Eddie Yost called the Walking Man? Yeah. Smokey Burgess would be a pretty tremendous addition to the club. They think we end up with Tommy Brown. Eh. I don't know about Tommy Brown. I don't know if I feel excited about him or not. I wouldn't let a great pitcher go just for him. That's for sure. Ed Mirkovich would be a pretty decent choice. I like him quite a bit. But it's not a bad draft. It's certainly not a bad draft. And I think we'll get a decent player out of it, but we're not going to be getting a top tier player because Duke Snyder's gone 1 overall. And I think he's the best player by far in this draft. Smokey Burgess is a low key pick, though. He's such a good hitter that we just had to find a position for him, but I think we could. Fowler. Don't sleep on Mirkowitz, though. He could be a genuine choice for us as we get deeper into the draft. It's still a pretty shallow draft, though. Oh, did you randomly give me or take away one of my minor league teams again? Yeah, you just randomly gave me 2 more teams. I can't figure it out, guys. It's too much. That's going to be for this episode, though. I hope you are enjoying. Please remember to like and subscribe. As said before, if you have genuine Willie Mays memories you'd like to share with everyone else, I'd welcome that. Until next time, this has been Guardian. Thank you for watching. And I bid you good day.